We're live. We're here. All right. Welcome everyone to another episode, our second episode, right, Trevor? Of our AWS.
My first episode, your second episode, but an important episode indeed.
It is. Episode. Yeah. I'm glad you could grace us with your presence this time, since you couldn't last time. But
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. We appreciate you being here. So we also appreciate, of course, our guests being here as well for today's episode of AWS Show and Tell Gen AI. And we're going to be focusing on Amazon Nova. And it's a multi-modal showcase, or modal. Well, I guess kind of.
It's multi-modal. It's multimodal.
It's actually both. So I guess my misspeak was actually relatively accurate for once, which is great. So, but welcome all for joining. Mike and Anupam, do you guys want to give a little introduction to yourself and let us know where you're joining us from today? And maybe the audience wants to let us know where they're joining us from as well if they're watching from all over.
Oh wait, real quick, I'll let everybody know I'm calling in from the great state of Maine. It's very cold. My pipes froze a couple nights ago. Water has been restored though, and life is good. I'm showered. I'm hydrated. All is well. I'm an SA over here at AWS. For those who don't know me, work with a lot of customers in the financial services world. In fact, that's how I got to know my buddy Mike Wells, who's got a cracking demo for us today. Over to you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. Like you said, my name's Mike Wells. I'm another solutions architect here at AWS. I am located a little bit further south, not too far though. I am coming in from Boston, Massachusetts. And again, I work with financial services customers as well. So Trevor and I have that in common.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Anupam. I'm Senior Solutions Architect in AGI, the people who have been building Nova behind the scenes. So yeah, happy to be here.
Hey, wait, AGI, that sounds pretty fancy. Hold up, we can't just flow back and like just casually walk past AGI. Like, what does that mean? We have an AGI team of SAs. What are you doing? Are you creating AGI? What's happening, man?
Yeah, so AGI is artificial general intelligence, as you all might already know. So our mission is to actually see how far we can take AGI, or what are the boundaries we can push with our models. So yeah, that's it.
Well, we're going to push some serious boundaries today with those models. We're going to have those models generating and understanding and doing all types of fun stuff. By the way, if you are in the chat today, let us know where you're coming in from.
We got some people joining in from LinkedIn that are letting us know, and it is from all over the place.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it is not from near. It is not from Boston. It is not from. I'm in Texas. It's not from Texas. Yeah, Germany, Ghana, Mexico City.
Incredible. We got folks from all over. You're in for a treat today. If you all have, I'm curious for those folks that are in the chat. Like, have you heard anything about these Nova models yet? Because I'll tell you, they launched at reInvent, and I was like, okay. Like my initial process was, okay, cool, another reInvent launch. And then like a week later, I got to sit down and look at the benchmarks, and I started to realize like we actually have something very special here. And we'll get into the demo in a second, but Anu, maybe I'm going to open it up with a question for you. Like what do you like? What are customers excited about when it comes to Nova models? Whenever you're in the field talking to customers that are starting to explore these since the launch at reInvent.
Yeah, I mean, people are really excited about the capabilities that these models comes with. Like, think of like multimodal understanding as well as multimodal generation all in one. So that is very exciting in terms of customer sentiment, along with the cost. Like, price is amazing of these models, and people are really going after it. And latency is another big one, where we are really blazingly fast, coming from like micro all the way to pro. So yeah, those are some.
I've even heard like reliability is less about probably Nova itself and more of just like Bedrock as a whole. But yeah, like to be able to get cost-effective models that are on the bleeding edge of intelligence and low latency. I was like, this has got to be too good to be true. And then I started playing with them and integrating in my customer stack and be like, oh, these are pretty sick. Speaking of, Mike, why don't you give folks a little teaser, like kind of high level of what you built for him. By the way, Mike is a wizard. I basically slacked him like, I have this cool idea for a demo. Like, this would be cool for the show. What do you think? And then within a week, he's like, boom, I've got it. Here's your demo. You're gonna see it today first, folks.
Mike, we're just coming to you for every episode. Sorry, you're just going to be a permanent demo guest for us.
That is good. That is all good with
we'll
me.
Keep you busy. You don't have any other daytime job stuff to do, right? Just build
No,
demos.
absolutely not.
Okay, perfect.
Full time.
Great. We'll get sign off from your manager, and that'll be what you do full time with us. Then it's just.
I wish you the best of luck with that.
Probably not. I'm guessing you would probably have a little something to say about that, and for your customers would too potentially. But yeah, we'd love to see a little bit of, I think a little bit into the demo, right? Jump into it and start showing the audience a little bit what it can do. Because yeah, I mean, like the cost stuff. I'm huge on cost things, and like the cost of it was one that I was like, oh, okay, that's actually impressive. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So, but yeah, let's take a look at what you've got here, because we want to show everyone a little bit of something.
Cool. Yeah. So we can jump right into it. I'll start off this. We're going to use a couple of ANOVA models that we mentioned, and Pam mentioned we have both content creation, so we can generate both images as well as videos, as well as multimodal understanding with just regular text output that you're used to. So they really do have a wide range of models, just about for every use case. And with that, let's just go ahead and let's jump right in. Let's see how the first one works. So the first one that we will look at today is Nova Canvas. And this is one of our content creation models. So this is actually our image creation. We'll go ahead down here on the left. And the way that these models typically work is they're best when you give them a caption. They don't work as well if you try and give them instructions. So we like to format all of our inputs for what we're looking to generate as a caption. So we have a couple of our different categories here that we typically like to look for. We have, subject, environment, action, position, and, let's just jump right into it and create an image. And I will say it was my first niece's birthday yesterday. She is a golden retriever. So we're going to start with that.
Already love this demo. Are we getting a picture of a dog? Come on, man.
We are going to get a picture of a dog.
Yes.
So we'll start with a golden retriever. We'll give her a pink collar. Let's say she's in a neighborhood, walking, and let's make it a sunny day, just to keep it easy and bright. So as I said, these models do best when you give them a caption-like input. So we have all of our different categories here formatted together. We also have the option to use a negative prompt. So you can specify anything that you don't want to see in your images as well.
No cats.
No cats.
Only dogs.
Yeah.
Sorry if there's any cat people in the chat.
You've just alienated a bunch of our audience, Trevor. Way to go. Cat lovers of the world.
It's great. You are allowed to like cats, but I'm just a dog guy. I'm sorry.
So with that prompt, we'll send it into Nova Canvas and let's see what it comes back with. Like we've already mentioned, one of the things that is great about the Nova family of models is the speed at which they can generate. So right away, immediately got our golden retriever. Adheres to just about everything we said. We had, the pink collar on a sunny day, walking down the street in a neighborhood.
Now, I think I have a quick question on this, just on the function, because I'll say I've worked a lot with language models. I haven't prompted a lot of image models, just to be honest. These captions, I guess, or these attributes on the left-hand side that would fit into the caption. Like, first of all, I'm just assuming the reason it likes a caption is because that's probably how it's trained, like an image beside of some captions. That checks out. But are these different variables like environment, action, position? Are these kind of like standard variables, or could they be any variable to define an image?
Yeah, so these aren't any standard variables that we like to do. These are just our suggested topics that we like to have included in your caption. So including as many of these as you can will result in the best image that will adhere to what you're looking for.
Can you generate another dog if we wanted to?
Yeah.
All right, because I want to put what is style? Because I kind of want to give this dog some style. Wait, no, do the same dog. I just want to see what the golden retriever looks like if I give him a style of like.
Okay.
Like I don't know. What's a good style for a golden retriever? I kind of want a groovy golden retriever. I just wonder what it does with
groovy one. I know. What does it do with that? That'd be interesting to see, right? Because
like golden retriever in a tie-dye We'll see.
Yeah, let's see what it comes up with.
This better be one groovy dog.
Uh-oh. Didn't over rotate on the grooviness.
No,
He might be like starting a little dance there or something. I don't know.
it's all in the body language. He's groovy that way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. One of the
Groovy in his
levers.
heart.
One of the levers we can pull when you're sending prompts to these models is a seed value, so it can generate more variable responses as well.
Disapproving corgi. We're gonna get so sidetracked. We're gonna get so sidetracked. We gotta move on, or we're just gonna think of every possible variant of a dog.
Yeah, very true. Because you could probably spend a lot of time just with varieties of, duck. I mean, you can't go wrong with a golden though, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, we'd be going for hours. So I'm gonna start. I am gonna click this animate button here, and we'll come back to that in just a few minutes.
And by the way, I just want to call out. This is a really interesting comment from LinkedIn of like saying like this is a really good call out. We're gonna spend some time talking about some B2B applications for this stuff because it's a great comment. We like to showcase like the art of the possible in demos, but when we can figure out like something like this is probably really great for like a marketing content generation sort of use case would be something that comes to mind. But this next thing you're about to show us, to me, has like infinite applications as far as enterprise use cases go.
Yeah, absolutely, Trevor. That's exactly right. So I know we talked about Canvas and the content creation model, but now we're going to take a look at one of our understanding models. So we have both Nova Pro and Nova Lite that are able to take not only text inputs, but also images as well as videos. And they're able to reason through what they see in that image and come back with different responses. So, this is a great enterprise use case where if you have a corpus of images that you need to extract objects in them, tag them, and then use them for analysis, this would be how you could do that. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to take this generated image of the dog and I'm going to feed it to our Nova Lite model. And I just in the prompt have asked it to, analyze a little bit, tell me what it sees. So as you can see, it already comes back. And again, we talk about that blazing speed. Correctly gets the golden retriever dog. It has the pink collar that we specified. And then even with the blurred background, it has, the residential street, houses, trees, and parked cars. So as far as, entity recognition, it's really good. And this is just an image. It can also do it in videos as well.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, this is like, it may seem simple, like when you're just looking at, oh, cool, like we can find out things that are in an image. Like, like I've seen customers in FSI and financial services use this for things like document processing for insurance claims and validation of like driver's licenses whenever people are registering for websites. There's like a really a broad array of, I don't know. And like one thing that stands out to me when I saw the Nova launch is like we actually call them understanding models, right? Which was obviously an intentional choice from us. Like where do you see customers applying like this type of functionality of being able to understand images, text, things like this in the field?
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out, like document understanding is such a big area, and all enterprises I feel like need somewhat document understanding, ranging from like extracting some entities to filling their downstream databases with the extracted entities, all the way to image understanding, how Mike is showing. We have even seen cases with video understanding where people are sending surveillance video from their Ring cameras or something like that to understand what is happening in that video. And so it's pretty like all over the place, like from image to document to video to even text. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Incredible. Yeah. General, like there you really, I can't imagine a business that couldn't find some use case for basic understanding, right? If you process any data, whether text or images, like there's got to be some application. I think across industries. In fact, I know folks in the chat were talking of like B2C or B2B use cases. If you all have like an industry in mind that you'd be curious of us to kind of talk about use cases we've run into, throw that in the chat, because I find that the use cases of interest vary a lot based on like what specific industry a customer might be operating in. Like advertising and marketing care about way different things than financial services, for example.
it all comes down to money in the end, but different ways of how they want
That's
that,
true. They
right?
all do care about one thing, and that
kind
is
of
making money.
rotate around that. That's here to there on that side, but yeah, no, definitely for sure. Did want to go back? We did have a question that kind of came in, and just to touch on it real quickly, maybe on how if you want to cover a little bit on it. Last episode, our first episode, we talked about DeepSeek R1, so of course it's a topic of discussion still. So do we have anything, or like, would you have anything to say about like what about DeepSeek versus Nova performance benchmarks or anything between the two, or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think we are definitely looking DeepSeek as a good way to benchmark on our models as well. And I would definitely say that open source benchmarks definitely tell a good story, but it is definitely also important to benchmark on your use case, on your real world application that you are thinking of building. So that's what I have been advocating to my customers who are in the same, asking similar question, to really go and build your own eval data set. If you haven't thought about it, that is like the 101 we should definitely advocate more about. And because of that eval data set, we are seeing very different results as compared to open source benchmarks. So we are still seeing Nova is on par as we were saying in the benchmarks. So yeah, I would definitely advocate for grounding yourself in your use case specific eval data sets.
Yeah, I got to do a hard +1 on that, because like of course when any new innovative model launches, the question is, how can I apply this to my use case? Can I increase accuracy? Can I improve cost? And the only way to answer that question is with a good eval data set. That's the only way to answer it definitively anyway with data. By the way, Mike, we got a question. Really great questions coming in from the chat, folks. Keep them coming. But there's a question here, I think, about the difference in prompting for something like a understanding model versus the caption-based prompt of those image models. Behind the scenes, what is the prompt that you're sending into like Nova Lite or Nova Pro here with that image?
Yeah. So with this image, are you for the analysis specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Here, let me pull it up here.
Oh my gosh, are we going to see some code?
No, I won't. I won't do that to everyone.
Someone loves to read code a little bit, just not having to read it line by line in a short amount of time, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So in this one, so I actually provided it a system prompt so that every single image that goes will have the same prompt with it. You are an expert image analyst. Provide detailed, structured analysis of the image with clear sections and specific observations. Be concise in your response. So that was the exact way that we came to it, along with the prompt that you see here that we inputted.
Yeah, makes sense.
The one thing I see a lot in real world use cases of that specific technique is one of two things, depending on the model. But usually, I see it. If you think about, we analyzed one image of one dog, but a customer might have thousands and thousands of images that they want to analyze, and so they may want some structure, so it's returned as like JSON or like something that they can feed it into some upstream data pipeline or application.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
basically the exact same thing. It's just put it in a slightly different format.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've come across a couple of use cases myself where customers will take the response, they'll make sure it's formatted as JSON, they'll validate that, and then it's much easier to parse and then make decisions to either branch off in different directions in some sort of prompt chaining as well. All right. And then I know I mentioned earlier, I hit that animate button, and this is more of the fun part of the demo, I would say.
Blow that thing up. Make it full screen. I see a little full screen button on that. There we go.
Here we go.
There we go.
So,
look at the puppy.
So here is the third model that we're going to talk about. So this is our second content creation model. This is Nova Real. So what we actually did was, as you can see here, the first frame, it took that image that we generated previously, and we just told Amazon Canvas or Amazon Nova Real to bring it to life. So with just that one image that we generated, it already gave us a moving 6-second video of it. So it's pretty incredible how quickly it is. It takes just a few minutes, and pumps it out really quick.
I like
that. Is pretty quick. Yeah, it doesn't take that long to generate. I mean, it would take me longer to generate and edit a video, right? If a dog to do that, then this obviously did in very little time. So it's impressive. Yeah, I mean, really impressive to see kind of the generation of the images and stuff like that. And we were talking about different use cases and scenarios and things like that around it, right? We talked a little bit, like Trevor even asked what we'd like to see for some specific industry verticals and different things for applications. And we did get one in from Andrew. And I won't try and butcher your last name, Andrew, because I'm terrible with last names most of the time. But they'd love to hear about you. Yeah, Andrew N. We'll go with that. I'd love to hear a little bit about retail e-commerce, specifically use cases for things, that we use with the Nova. And I think that's actually somewhere where we see kind of frequently for use of Gen AI, right? Because it's very helpful in a lot of different areas. I'm gonna let you all, because I specifically said I was going to answer questions about Gen AI stuff because we have you here, and I'm not the expert, you are. So I'm gonna turn that question over to you for someone to share a little bit of info on retail and kind of e-commerce situations, maybe potentially use cases with it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the cases that I have seen where people are using or at least exploring Nova on e-commerce side have been like around entity extraction, like extracting different entities from your catalog page, or giving some different images for the image generation side for the catalog images, or validating if the content on the catalog page is actually correct or not, based on other grounding information. So those have been couple of major use cases that I have been seeing.
Yeah, and I would say what's one very interesting thing about this stream and this particular family of models is they're created by Amazon. So if you want to see some really interesting applications of generative AI for e-commerce and retail, go no further than Amazon.com. I use a few. I'm a pretty avid Amazon shopper for to my own detriment sometimes. I use a lot of the features to kind of chat with reviews and get feedback of historic customer reviews on products, and even sometimes I've used the Rufus tool to kind of ask questions about specific products. Like sometimes I find myself scrolling through a product page to be like, does this thing have a USB-C port? And just using AI to ask and get a quick answer of like, does this have a USB-C port, is like a nice way to improve the user experience. Speaking of user experience, the other one I would really call out that's been that this is in e-commerce, but across the board, right, is just customer support, right? Like really, there's a huge opportunity for two segments of kind of organizations that need customer support. It's like either you already have a lot of customer support operations, like an Amazon is probably an example of that, and you want to optimize it. But I also see customers that maybe are starting a new company and they're like a growing startup and they just don't have the resources to hire a huge support team. And so leveraging Gen AI for that use case, I've seen pretty popular with our customers.
Yeah, I actually enjoy that. Just what you mentioned, Trevor, specifically on the .com side shopping, where I'll be scrolling through trying to find something specific, and I'm like, I'll just ask. I don't know why I don't just ask. I guess I forget that it's there because I'm still not used to it being something that's really integrated into a number of different things. So use it for a lot of other stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I should probably just ask it if it has it. Go through the reviews. Very handy. So yeah, got a lot of different comments and stuff coming in, different questions and things. Hopefully we'll be able to get to them all today in the audience. So I appreciate all the questions and things that are coming in. Please do keep them rolling in. Let us know what you want to specifically hear about. We did have one. This comment, is that a real dog? Look at that image and video resolution. It shows up as LinkedIn user on here, but I know that's Anil, our other host that's on the show. So he's watching and joining in today from the audience instead of being on air with us. But we still appreciate him being in the audience to ask questions and go over things. So.
Ooh, interesting. I don't know if you meant to throw that one up there, but
I
trying to establish.
Really.
Let's talk about guardrails, though. May as well.
Yeah, I know, right? So, and we got this one that came in again from another LinkedIn user, and they're saying, it appeared to be a great product, but they're trying to establish guardrails at scale. And maybe for those that are joining and have not played with generative AI or know about the importance of guardrails in different aspects, maybe give a little bit on what that is, and then how maybe it might be beneficial to cover those at scale. That one's gone. I didn't click on anything else accidentally to bring it up. Thank goodness.
Yeah. I think a lot of Bedrock guardrails are something that it's like very easy to test out. Like if you want to experiment, go in the Bedrock console and play around with those. But also, like, since we're talking about the Nova models, I think there's guardrails, which is like an extra layer of security you can put in front of a model. But also you want to think about the model provider and how they develop and the assurances around the training data set. And I know we have some unique things to offer with Nova there, don't we, Anupam?
Yeah, so I think these models have been created keeping responsible AI at the center stage, and we wanted to make these the most safest models out from the Amazon. So there are a couple of layers we have entangled apart from guardrails, which obviously you should use Bedrock guardrails on top of whole application. But like starting from just the base model, we have made sure that the data sets have the right level of information and are like having checks on toxicity and all the RAI specific checks that needs to happen. And on top of the base model, we have a separate layer which is specialized on RAI specific layer, which is another model that is specialized for responsible AI and has all the good guardrails that you would expect from the model, checking the inputs and checking the outputs. And any input or output that goes from to the model or from the model has to go through that layer, and that layer basically acts as a filter to the model. So that acts like as a second layer on top of the base model to ensure that the outputs are safer and like the right guardrails are intrinsically followed. So we call these as intrinsic guardrails, and then there is Amazon Bedrock guardrails, which is on top of it.
Yeah, and I will say somebody asked about deltas between Nova and DeepSeek. That's definitely one.
Yeah.
Nova has pretty those intrinsic guard. I hadn't heard that term, but I like that term a lot to describe this concept. And like, just it's good to know kind of out of the box. Has some of the sharp edges been ground off the model? And also because Mike and I are in FinServe. In financial services, another benefit that I think comes from that same practice that we can offer is legal indemnification across a lot of the things that the Nova models offer. That seems to be an interesting differentiator.
Yeah, owning the whole chain of things, right? So,
Mike, I got a question for you, man. You spent I don't know how many hours building that demo, but you're my hero. Learn anything interesting along the way about integrating your app with Bedrock, about prompting these models? Like anything that you feel like you learned building the demo that somebody else trying to build something like that should know?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pretty fun thing to exercise to go through, especially with the content creation models. You know, learning how they are best prompted is something that I didn't expect. So it's very different from prompting a lot of the understanding models or normal text to text models. So yeah, actually, one of the things I'd say I learned quite a bit about is all the different camera views. They're all listed on our documentation, but I had no idea how many different ways there were to describe how to make a picture move.
Nice. And speaking about like some of the things you're learning, generation, different things and whatnot, and there was a comment here, and I was going to pull it up, and now I cannot find it from the audience, where somebody mentioned something within the demo that you've got, right? Like one of the things you had in there was like, we put cats. And this is something that for me and myself, like generally when I'm going through like giving prompts for things, like putting not typically doesn't do anything, right? Like it spurs the opposite reaction to putting not. So I don't know if you wanted to cover a little bit like with that within the demo. Like I'm just curious, how that's being impacted into the prompt and things like that for it, just because that's for me. I was just a little curious. There was a comment about, I think somewhere, and I still can't find it. So if you were the person that asked about the not, that you can ask again. But that was just kind of something I was curious about when I saw that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when prompting the content creation models, rather than directly in the caption that we're generating that we want to use to create the content, we use what we call a negative prompt. So it's a separate parameter that you'll actually pass aside from your caption or your prompt to the model. One of the funny things about it is you really avoid using negative words like not or avoid. You just say the actual thing you do not want it to include in the negative prompt. So that definitely took a little bit to get used to.
So you don't want to do a double negative prompt. You don't want it to be
correct.
Like the negative prompt is
it will already make it negative for you.
Yeah. Nice. Makes sense. Okay, thanks. Yeah, no, I was just curious because I was like, okay, like I know if I do that, it like I said, it does the exact opposite. I'm like, oh yeah. Finally, after I tried it a couple times, right, like myself, but when I was trying to learn some of the prompts and things, then I went back through it and I was like, oh, okay. So it doesn't doesn't like that. It doesn't do that. So perfect. That's explaining why every time I would tell it not to do something, it would do pretty much exactly that. So it's like, cool.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things. Prompt engineering can become almost as important as the model that you're using on the back end. So this really just highlights it.
Yeah, we've covered not in this show, but we've talked about prompt engineering, Trevor and I, before on a couple other episodes that we've been on for different things. And it's like, it could be a whole nother, I mean, it's a really important part of it in general when using things, making sure you've got good, solid prompts. That for me, again, was another thing when I was getting started and learning it that I was terrible at until I talked to someone else and they're like, this prompt doesn't do anything. Like, you're not going to get any good results. They'll just be like, tell me something. And it'd be like, give me an answer, of course. But it was like, they're like, no, give it a context. Give it all the things that you actually want. Who are you? Give it a persona. It's like, oh, okay, well, this makes so much more sense. So very good for that.
Yeah, and even within Bedrock, for some of the supported models, we also have a prompt optimizer feature as well. So within prompt templates, if you have a prompt, you can ask Bedrock to optimize your prompt, and it'll actually go according to the different model specifications, and attempt to make your prompt as optimal as possible for
this. This is something I gotta take a moment just to give a shout out to. I was joking earlier. Oh my gosh, we have an AGI team at Amazon. What is that? Like, we have an AGI team, an AGI specialist at Amazon. This is something that I've leveraged in my account. Is like, we have a wealth of knowledge here at Amazon and at AWS for how to get the most out of a prompt and a model. Here's something I've started to see lately is customers will build their app on a model, and they'll just get the prompt to work good enough to deliver the use case. And once they meet that bar, they'll ship and move on. But by working with an expert that really know, or even just learning yourself how to get the most out of these prompts, I've seen customers able to go back to an old application, adjust a prompt, and then increase accuracy by like 10-20% by doing nothing more than readjusting an old prompt. So the prompts never die is I think what I'm learning. Every time a new iteration of models comes out, there's an opportunity to go back and get more life out of the prompt. Love this question, by the way. How do you measure AI? Right. From Aaron. I think this is something that when customers start actually deploying comes up a lot. Like, what are the metrics? We talk about having a test set, a prompt, but like, what do you need to have measurements for? What are you all seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I can start and please chime in. But yeah, so based on my experience, what I have been recommending customers is to first create your golden data set. So that golden or eval data set is your ground truth, which basically tells your use case how well you're performing. And that should have your distribution of that evaluation data set or golden data set should match or closely match to your traffic that you would see on your application, so that you know that, okay, it's a good representation. So that's like the step zero of even thinking of eval data set or how well my AI is working. And then as a step two is and the step two is to really think of eval metrics. And by eval metrics, I mean, think of it like whether I want a deterministic metric or do I want like more theoretical or subjective metrics like LLM judge metrics. So that kind of determine how well your AI is working. Like some cases like classification or I don't know, entity extraction. These are cases where you can build deterministic metrics like exact match or have precision, recall. Those metrics are good enough for use cases on those use cases. And then on the other side, you have cases like summarization or text generation or reasoning, where you do not have that kind of capability to have like a deterministic metrics, and you want to explore LLM judges or LLM jury now, which is getting popular, where they have multiple judges kind of all judging the same answer.
Wait, we're gonna have to dig into that to LLM jury. I've heard of. We probably first we need to tell people what LLM as judge is. Yeah. That's the first time I've heard LLM as a jury before.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a step back. So LLM as judge is basically when you want to evaluate your response, and the responses are generally in a way that a deterministic metric cannot be used or cannot be solely trusted, that's where you go to the LLM judges. And in LLM judge, what you do is you take an LLM which is smart enough and ask it to reason its output based on the inputs that you're passing, and if it validates the reasoning or validates the text that is coming out or validates like the summary quality. So those things, when you ask the LLM and then ask it to score its own responses, and ask why are you scoring those, or you have a rubric that you define on what all criteria it should be judging. So that kind of helps you create a metric out of it. And the LM jury takes it one step even further, where you are saying, okay, I don't trust a single judge, but I can, if I have 5 models or 4 models and all of them judge it, and then I do a voting, that might give me a more consolidated opinion, and that's more like the can be trusted. Yeah. Does it make sense, Trevor?
No, it does. Multiple judges. No, I mean it makes perfect sense. I think when I hear about techniques like this, I'm always curious how they're used, because a jury sounds like it might introduce some latency. So I wonder if these are things that are like maybe use cases where just like the accuracy is so important, where you could sacrifice on something like that, but the latency is getting better over time. So maybe it just won't be an issue. Maybe in the future, like passing a prompt back and forth between models will be more table stakes.
Yeah, also like evaluation tasks is generally offline, so people have the appetite for latency.
Right. It's not in the critical path,
Yeah,
right? Because you're looking at the historic responses from the model. So,
yeah,
okay, that makes sense. So actually, it's not incurring latency for the user anyway.
yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And then some people use hybrid approach, like there is deterministic metrics and then there is LLM judges to give them the final output of how the AI is performing. So yeah, we've seen all flavors of it.
Yeah, I've even seen a combination of both. I mean, the way that people are measuring deterministically is continuing to evolve. There's new metrics coming out. Like Anupam, you mentioned summarization is traditionally pretty hard to measure, but I've seen teams using like a rogue score or something along those lines, in combination with some sort of human in the loop. Is this an acceptable response? And using that as part of their model lifecycle.
I'm just busy typing over here into the chat to some, because we have a lot of other questions and things about just the prompt engineering, everything, right? Like going back to that it's just an important aspect, right? Like looking at things for how you're going to do so, even coming in questions about specifics on, what is a good, prompt? How does that affect things? Just being able to train people as they start to get into it, right? So they're not like me fumbling through, giving terrible prompts. But if they get a little bit of information ahead of time, they know how they're supposed to prompt things. We've had some really good questions and things also in aspects of like using like Nova itself. There's this, I guess I'd be curious for this on this aspect. There's a model that'd be more recommended of the Nova models that we have here for things like, shopping history, like recommendation things, right? So like we have personalized that used for that separately, but if we're looking in this aspect right for here, right? Like what would be like a good area to kind of focus in on that so that it could get, because generative AI can help us with that. There it is. I lost it. See, I'm getting lost in the comments because thank you people for actually asking questions and giving us some things to look at, but then I get lost because there's so many of them and I want to find them. And James asked, can generative AI better understand customer buying habits? And so that's my thought was, we've got a number of different options here for the different models that we have within Nova, right? So we went through Real and Canvas. We've got Light, we've got Micro, right? There's a few. So in that context, we could use one of those for probably doing something like this.
Get real creative. Didn't
creative.
you say one of them, one of the models can do video understanding?
Yep.
You know what shopping habit I would love somebody to analyze is like when I'm standing in the aisle at Whole Foods, like looking at 2 different types of granola, and I'm just standing there for 5 minutes, and then eventually I decide on which granola I want. But that is a buying behavior I'd like to understand a little bit more about myself. So maybe we could use the video understanding to figure that one out.
That would be interesting, right? To see how long it takes you and what. I mean, it'd be great if they could collect the additional data points of what actually made you choose that decision, right? Was it the color of the packaging? Was it, the weight of the packaging? It says they were both 16 ounce, but this one felt more like 17 ounce than 16 ounce. Who knows, Trevor? The mystery of your mind on when you're choosing granola, right?
I mean, one amazing use case I heard recently from someone was personalizing the shopper experience in physical stores using Gen AI. So how are they doing is like they have cameras where they basically detect what is the demographic of people in the store at the moment, and based on that, they define what ads should be around them at that instant. So it's pretty cool what people are doing with.
Wow. So yeah, because like there are certain times if you go to the store at different times of day, there are different people. Like if you go right after work, it's a different demographic than if you go like 8 a.m. on a Saturday. That's like when all the grannies like to go shopping. You might no, that makes sense. You can like kind of target advertising based on the demographics in the store.
It's my favorite time to shop.
Hey, I like shopping with the grannies too because things are chill. Like everybody's going slow. It's nice. Saturday mornings. Yeah, and we had a question earlier that stood out to me, and it was basically like what, like as Amazon, and this might be more about Bedrock, but like what do we like how should customers be thinking about security as it relates to the models? And I'll say, like from my perspective, just working with customers, people say the word security, but I like to break it down because like underneath that umbrella, people mean different things. Like, yes, there's like security in terms of just like infrastructure security. So like, Bedrock models are fully isolated, disconnected from the internet in a private environment, and you can connect to it via your private VPCs as if it's just sitting there on your own private cloud network. Sure, that's true. But on top of that, I think with AI, when people say security, what they really are asking about is like, what's happening to my data? Is my data, which I think security is not really the right word. It's really more about data privacy. Is probably how I would define it. But I know that a lot of customers gravitate towards Bedrock because of the assurances that you get around usage of data. In fact, I've even seen, I'll even say, since this is a show about Nova, I've even seen instances where, because like you're already an Amazon customer and you have like an agreement with Amazon, that the Nova models and like the end user agreement is covered underneath your existing Amazon agreement. So I've seen instances where customers that want to deploy an application quickly or get something deployed quickly find that because they're an existing Amazon customer, utilizing Nova is their fastest path to ship something versus I've seen customers that need to use like a third-party model on Bedrock through the marketplace have to go through like legal reviews and security reviews sometimes to actually get the model approved. I don't know if anybody else has run into that, but that's something I've seen in the last few weeks. Is like, this is not a technical differentiator as much as it is like the fact that you are working with Amazon already makes it just easy to get approvals to use the models.
Yeah, plus one to that. Like I kind of resonate with that also. Like how easy it makes, like just the overall Bedrock architecture makes having those conversations or skipping those conversations because that is already being taken care for you by the architecture. And second place where Bedrock really becomes awesome is on the hosting side. So they kind of take care of your model hosting, whereas when you go to an open source, you kind of have to think about hosting them yourself and doing all the maintenance around that as your traffic scales up. So that piece also, Bedrock really takes care of yourself of hosting as long as you provide an application. So yeah.
Yo, old school, my man Eric, DJ, my man Eric from DC. This is an old school solutionist fan. He's coming at us. Thanks for popping on so late in the evening. I know you're here in DC. It's almost 8:45. But thanks for saying hi, Eric. That's what's up. That is what is up.
Yeah, always good to see old familiar names from past times come back and take a look at things on the show. So, and snowy, Eric says as well, right? There is all sorts of snow in DC, which I don't think is well prepared for the snow they're getting right now. Which same thing in Texas when we get snow. Like we got snow last month, and it was like, oh, great, nobody's going anywhere today.
Oh yeah.
Unlike up in the north, right, where it's a little bit different. So
Texas, I lived in Texas for like a couple years, and I got snow one time, and it was just incredible. It was just incredible to see the alarm of like less than a half inch of snow that just rippled through society. Everything must come to a screeching halt.
Everything stops here. Everything stops here.
It's like this is so little snow that even like a 2-wheel drive car would be totally fine if you didn't plow. But
yeah,
everything's bigger in Texas except for your snow handling services.
Yeah, except for our fleet of snow plows, we have a very small.
Anyway, hey, we're coming. That's right. I'm looking at the time, folks. Like, we got a little bit more time. Definitely time to answer a few more questions. But I also want to open it up. We got some great experts here on the call, Mike and Upam. Anything that we haven't talked about yet that you feel like has to be said when we're talking about Nova? If you don't know, I'll say I don't think we focused enough on cost. But outside of that, anything else we haven't covered yet that you think that folks need to know about Nova before they leave?
I mean, I will say customization has been a very big theme that I'm seeing across my customers, like on both sides, on just customized fine tuning that comes out of the box from Bedrock, just bringing your data, formatting it into the manner that Bedrock understands, and then just kicking off your customization job. We have seen incredible results with customization. Like we are seeing micro beating Pro's performance after customization. So you get like awesome cost benefits.
Are you talking about when you say? Are you talking about in that case like distillation or like a fine tuning? When you say customization, curious what you're seeing.
Yeah, so we are seeing with customization even people comparing Pro, the base model, and comparing micro after customization, and they're seeing better results on micro customization. So that's one success story that recently I got to know. And on then second definitely is the distillation, which is also being utilized a lot, especially in cases where you do not have labeled data, and which are a lot cases where you don't have ground truth and your Pro model is performing well. So you take Pro as your teacher model, and then you take micro or light as your student model. So it's like the case where best of the both worlds come. So you take the intelligence of a Pro model, but you want the latency and cost benefits of, let's say, micro. So micro becomes your student and Pro becomes your teacher. So that kind of architecture I'm seeing a lot coming up as well, where people are distilling a larger model into a smaller model.
Whenever I heard this term of distillation, and I was like, oh great, another customization technique, whatever. Like I'll figure that out whenever a customer needs it. But once I saw a customer start to experiment with this for use case, the value prop of distillation is pretty insane. You can say, I have a smart model, let's call it Nova Pro, that's performing well on a task, and I can just take the existing traffic that's going in and out of that model and distill it to a smaller model. And for certain tasks, you see performance exactly the same, sometimes slightly better performance, but you're able to run inference on a small model, which means same task, lower cost, and way lower latency. The performance benefits of that is insane. Like it's just like, it's a simple idea. Imagine running a task on a big model on a small model, and it's just as good. It's a bigger idea than I think people realize. I think we're going to see a lot of common use cases get distilled for that latency benefit, especially.
Yeah, it's just taking the traditional transfer learning, if you know, and that kind of making it for Gen AI use cases. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I mean, just a quick question that came in while we were going through kind of some of the different things. When you talk about like the formatting and stuff like that, do you mean like labeling for the data and stuff like that around it, or little specifics on that, I guess, just to help clarify for Liz?
Yeah.
And others like me.
Yeah, for sure. So by formatting, I mean like basically the model expects each row of your data point to be in like a messages API, which is like a messages construct that you follow, or converse API format. So formatting your examples into that format. Obviously, you do need ground truth if you're going the route of customized fine tuning. So you will have ground truth, but along with that, having that JSON schema and having that JSON-L file that gets created, and using that as your input data when you are fine tuning.
Yeah, JSON. That term JSON-L is something that it was a new term to me like 6 months ago, but that seems like the kind of standard format you use for prompt response type fine tuning. I will say though, on the distillation front, something I've seen that we support is the ability to distill a model with just using your logs, basically, not having to build a JSON-L data set.
That is so powerful if you think about it. You don't even have to prepare data. You just like scrape data from your CloudWatch logs. So yeah.
Nice. And just one other question. This is a little less to do with Nova, but a little bit more to do with just using it in general. Oh, anyone came in and I clicked the wrong one. It moved on me. Any view on RAG? For those watching, you haven't seen this, retrieval augmented generation, but of course, using it with different things, right? So you have any specific use cases or things you've seen customers use with Nova so far and things about this? Or, I mean, just general same old for how we do things with it?
No, definitely. I think RAG is an important piece, and every enterprise kind of comes to having somewhat RAG use case. So yeah, especially on the Pro and Lite, because of their multimodal understanding capabilities, people are creating RAG. They're calling multimodal RAG basically, which takes in images or takes in videos and kind of summarizing that into a text and then putting that text to RAG, and then asking questions what is in that video, or searching across the videos or searching across the images. So that has been a pretty good use case that we are seeing. For example, there was a use case of like documents or research papers, and research papers have like graphs also. They have like tables also. They have text also. So asking questions on like graphs or like images as well as interleaved text in your RAG. So that kind of opens the door for multimodal RAG as well.
Yeah, and that's a cool aspect to it. Like you said, being able to have it go through and look at a research paper, like, and pull out specific elements from there, where it's not just the text that is creating vectors for, right? It's like, no, now I've got everything included in there. So that's cool.
Until you ask it what time it is. Then RAG says, no. No.
That's not in my context.
We're going to need to call an API for that one. We're going to need an agent or something. We're going to get crazy like that. Ask what time it is.
It's all about where its end period was, right? Can't do the now. That's fine.
I've heard that's a strength of Nova. I haven't dug into this. I've heard a strength of Nova is like tool calling and agentic behavior. I haven't explored that myself. I don't know if it has any standouts versus other. I do know that when you get into agentic flows, though, you get into a lot of kind of parallel, complex, simultaneous prompts, and so I can at least see the cost benefit of Nova making a lot of sense there from an agentic perspective. But I think agents is something that, for folks in the chat, if you're not hearing about agents today, but you know what RAG is, by the end of this year, you're going to have heard the word agents over and over and over again.
Workflows,
it's a huge focus right now from us, but of course, that's to meet the demand of our customers for these sort of applications.
Yeah, and Trevor, you mentioned the cost aspect of using agents, but not to mention one of the other place that Nova really excels is the latency and the speed. And not only are agents many times making calls in parallel, but sometimes they are making them, one after another serially, so that latency can really stack up if your model's not responding fast enough. So that's another great area where the Nova models kind of really prove their worth.
Cool. So many comments, so many things, trying to reply to them as well. So appreciate it again, everyone, with all the different comments. Do you have one comment, Trevor? The dog that was on camera was not generated by Gen AI, right? It was a real dog that we saw.
That was my real dog. He seemed kind of sad when I put him in the frame, but that was my real actual dog. His name is Boone McGinn. He didn't get my last name. He got my girlfriend's last name, unfortunately. But that's right. It's a real dog. And the chat today has just been on fire. Thanks everyone for engaging and asking awesome questions. We want to bring experts like Mike, like anyone to answer deep dive questions about what we're seeing in the field on the show. So thanks for the engagement and for the insightful questions. Excited to do it again next week at the same time, same place. We're going to come back at you with another presumably hard hitting generative AI demo. I don't want to overcommit or anything, but if I had to guess, I would say it's going to be a pretty sweet Gen AI demo. Same time, same place next week.
Yep, we'll be back same time, same place next week. Another demo because, of course, as the title of the show goes to say, show and tell. That is our goal, right? To be able to show and then tell a little bit about it. So always going to have one of those little demos things and things here. But like Trevor was saying, really appreciate everyone's interaction. Mike and Anupam, really appreciate you both coming and sharing insights and information and things and answering questions that I definitely was not the one to answer. Trevor might have been. He would have been okay by himself without me. So. That's okay. I just got to appreciate Boone and hanging out behind there, but did want people to make sure to know that was not just generated. It was a real dog that did exist. So, but cool. Yeah. Lots of interesting stuff. Of course, check out, we'll be posting again the videos on LinkedIn and stuff as well, and other sites, YouTube, Twitch, whatever we stream to now, all over the place. So you can come watch and see the episode afterwards, but join us again next week on all the different channels to see what we're going to be demoing and talking about in our next episode of AWS Show and Tell for generative AI. So thanks to Neil for being in the background in the chat as well, asking questions. So maybe he'll join us next week on camera and on the show. So, but any last party moments or anything that you want to say, Mike or Anupam or Trevor?
Just a big thank you to our guests and to the audience. That's all from me. Mike, Anupam, what about you guys?
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And definitely, please try Nova. It's amazing model and we are seeing amazing traction. So definitely, if you haven't, please do it.
There you go. Call to action. Log into AWS. Try out Nova. It's in the Bedrock Model Playground. Build something cool. And let us know what you built on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Tag us. Let us know.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this week. Again, come back next week and see us. So, all right. Thanks everyone for joining and have a great